Hey everyone, it's Keith. Welcome to Wednesdays in Bed with Keith. It's a glorious day out there, but I wanted to talk today about the old saying, three strikes, you're out. I know that that really applies like in baseball and stuff like that, and sometimes it can apply in life, but it doesn't always have to apply in life. Sometimes it could be one strike, you're out, depending on who's like throwing the ball and how hard you're swinging. But I just wanted to talk about like when Rob and I were first introduced, and we had had our first date, and things seemingly went well. They really did, and I thought to myself, there's something about this guy that's kind of sweet, and but we'll let time tell. So we decided that summer to go to Fire Island. I had never been to Fire Island. He loves it. And I thought it would be a great experience. So we pack up and we're like making our way to the ferry in Bridgeport to go over to Long Island to take the ferry to, Fire Island. And we both were like super hungry. And I thought to myself, well, maybe we'll stop. We'll get something along the way. It'll be really, really nice. So I mentioned this to him. And the next thing I know, he's like pulling off the highway into one of those like rest area McDonald's. And I had never really done that before, like meaning I always like go out to breakfast and it's always kind of like a brunch or something like that. And I just thought to myself, oh my God, like he's taking me to McDonald's on the highway. And that sounds really like snooty. And I don't mean it to sound snooty, but breakfast is sort of my favorite meal of the day. And he kind of knew that. So I thought it was like, like kind of weird that we would be doing that. But we stopped and we ate our, like McMuffins in the car. And I just sort of chuckled to myself. And we went on and we had a great day. And that was all like just curious to me, which I sort of let it go until we bought tickets to see a play in New York City. And this was like maybe a couple of months later, and we were walking down the street, and there was sort of like this period where we didn't know if we wanted to have lunch or maybe we'd go out after the theater. And all of a sudden he like sort of pushes me into like a one slice pizza shop. And it wasn't like this nice one slice pizza shop. It was like sort of one of those like sketchy things that you think. And now like my antenna are going up because I'm thinking, oh my God, like this guy is just, I don't know. Like this isn't like my style or my scene. And again, I know that I'm sounding like really awful about this, and it's nothing, has nothing to do with anything. Like it's one of those things where you're thinking, okay, we had the McDonald's Egg McMuffin in the car. Now I'm in this like semi like questionable pizza shop, and I just don't know. So that's sort of like just in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I'm not so sure. But the next like maybe several months later, we're driving home from New Haven, and Rob, because he's a dealer, drives a car dealer, not a drug dealer, drives dealer cars. And he had taken this one car, and on our way home the tires literally start splitting. I mean, like, we leave New Haven and I could feel like the car bucking and everything, and the tires are splitting, and we get out of the car and they're like just shearing off rubber. And now I'm like, okay, this is like too much for me to handle, right? So we make it to the gas station, and there's an air pump, and we're thinking, our thought process is, if we can just fill the tires with air and make it to the car dealership, we'll be okay. So we go to do this, and it's about 10 o'clock at night, 10:30. And of course, you have to put quarters in the machine. And naturally, because it's a dealer car, there's no quarters in the car. Like, you don't just throw your loose change into this car. So now what to do? Well, there's this strip club next door called Gindy's, which is no longer in existence, but it was there for 100 years. I had never been. Like, I had never been there. I have no reason to go there. So anyway, I'm like, all right, well, let's go into Gindy's. And he's like, I'm not going in there. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? We have to get change. And he's like, no, I'm not going in there. And I was like, oh, butch up. Like, man up. You have to go into Gindy's. So I, of course, take my dollar bills and I go into Gindy's. And it's everything that I think it would be. Like, it looked like the Lido deck on, like, the Love Boat. Like, it was so crazy. Like, there was, like, you know, the disco balls, and there were mirrors everywhere, and it was a little seedy, and there were the guys lined up at the bar, and so I go in and I make my way to the bar, and there's this woman, breasts out, just like tits up, so to speak, and she comes over to me and she's like, how can I help you? And I was like, I hold up a dollar bill and I'm like, do you have any change for $1? And she just looked at me like, really? Like, cheapskate. So I was like, no. And I explained to her about the car and everything. And then I felt bad. So I probably should have just tipped her, but I decided, well, I'll just have a quick drink. So I order a drink and I'm like sort of shooting it down. And she gives me the change and I go on my way. And I get out there and he's like, what took you so long? And I said, well, I had to have a drink. I said, the woman was nice. Her boobs were in my face. What was I to do? I wasn't going to like motorboat her or anything like that. I had a drink and I went on my way. So we get into the car. We fill the car with air. We get to the car and like we're just driving as fast as we can to the car dealership. And as we're driving, the rubber is just coming off the tires until we finally make it there. And all of a sudden, boom, we hit the ground because now it's just rims, right? I was like, I don't know. This might not be the relationship for me. But you know what? In the end, as the years have gone on, I've come to realize that you have to give someone maybe more than 3 chances. Maybe that old adage isn't totally correct because Rob has turned out to be so good to me and such a loving and caring partner. And he puts me on a pedestal and basically I can do no wrong. Even when I do wrong, he just laughs. And it's just good to know that somebody loves you, right? And so I guess I'm just saying, keep the antenna up. But at the end of the day, when more hits outweigh the strikes, you really got a good thing going.